you have some things you'd like to add, go ahead and feel free to jump in.
Sure.
Okay, we can see your screen, Gary, so that's great. All set.
All right, thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Josh. Welcome, everyone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step you through a high-level demonstration of the commission solution. As Josh and Nancy said, it's designed to be very scalable, and there is some flexibility with the tool as well. In fact, it's designed completely for a business user. Now, just to give you a couple of different perspectives of the tool, what I'm going to do is walk you through first as an end user, so a payee, someone like a sales rep, and then we'll briefly take a look at a manager before we change hats and log in as a comp admin. I'll show you a little bit of how the solution works and why it's so scalable and why it allows you to design comp plans and be completely self-sufficient and see your data as well as query it. So we're going to step through that right now. What you're looking at on your screen is a very typical, what I would call consumerized approach to incentive comp from a sales rep perspective. So to give you a day in the life, we're logged in as an account executive. His name is David Litz. Now, when David logs into the Callidus Cloud Commission software, he can see a little bit about himself. He can see his own profile, some pertinent information. And what's nice about this tool is that it's really how you design it. You can have different experiences from a dashboard perspective by user, role, or even compensation plan. So, and it's easy to design. It's drag and drop. We have a complete widget library inside the solution, so business users will easily manage this. And you can have different iterations of your dashboards as well, each one being effective dated. So as we log in as David Litz, we notice that we have the profile information. Now, as I move over, we can see other elements that are typically very important components to the compensation plan, like the quota attainment. And this is all able to be configured. In fact, you can change colors and logos as well. What a lot of comp admins like is to be able to communicate with their payees and producers. So we build a nice communication widget that allows you to include logos, important dates, reminders, and messaging. So, and once again, these can be moved just about anywhere we want inside the tool. It's just all widget based. You can resize them and see them very easily. Very common widget that we usually see is a current period payout. So many account executives, that'll be the first thing they look for when they come into this performance at a glance experience. They want to see the current period payout, what type of production have I had, and then what type of quota retirement or attainment are we seeing from this. So in this case, you can see the current period payout right here. If we did have a prior balance, we would also note that as well. So Callidus Cloud does support prior period processing, and as I'm sure everyone in the webinar knows, that sometimes certain use cases come up like clawbacks or deals that can be delayed. And we want to make sure that we support that prior period processing use case. So we can view current period payout, and we can also look at that over time. So the solution will support additional widgets that allow you to view multiple periods by certain incentives or even measurements if you'd like. So in this case, we're looking at the payout by period, and we're looking at this over the course of a year. But this widget could be configured to show it over a quarter, over a month. It depends on how your paid processing schedule is configured. And we're very flexible in that regard. We do have some customers that pay daily, and then we have some that pay monthly or even quarterly. We'll support virtually any calendar, and then we can showcase that information easily. So hopefully the trend you're seeing is that an account executive or other payee comes in, they can see this very easily. It's very consumable, and we're not spending a lot of time doing shadow accounting. Now, one of the questions that I get a lot is, well, can we see individual deals or production at a line item level? And the answer is yes to that. You're going to notice in this case, we have two different widgets. One is our new bookings production. We also have a renewals component. This is based on the comp plan design, and this is somewhat common. I can drill into either one of these widgets and actually see the line item detail. And this is usually very important to payees because they want to be able to feel comfortable with the transaction data that we've seen. And as the customer, you can actually configure what line item data do we showcase here. So in this case, you can see we're going to show a date, perhaps an event type, like a renewal in this case. And then there's other information like order IDs, product names, product IDs, and of course, values. So all configurable. Callidus is completely extensible, meaning that we can have unlimited attributes, and you can actually incorporate those right into the dashboard. So you may have different requirements than what you see here. Maybe something like an opportunity ID or an opportunity name wouldn't be a problem to incorporate that as well. What a lot of customers like is the ability as well to filter from certain strings of text. So we can easily do that as well. There's search functionality in here. And all of these different functions can be turned on or turned off. So functions like being able to enable payees to download into CSV. One thing that I do want to direct your attention to is this raise inquiry link right here. It's common, even though we do streamline and provide high accuracy to commissions and incentive comp processes, that sometimes there still are questions. And we can actually use these links to open up general inquiries right from the line item detail. We can also do it right from the home screen. So you'll notice here if I scroll down, we're seeing recent transactions, and my raise inquiry link is right here. And I can actually click on that at any point and go into the inquiry form just like this. And these are all configured for you, and you can actually have different types of inquiry or dispute forms. Callidus is a global solution, so as your payees enter certain fields, you can have different unit types and different fields and determine what's required, what's not, and additional elements like supporting documentation that's able to be uploaded. And this will actually go through a workflow that's configured by the customer and will support virtually any workflow. It is an enterprise class workflow solution that's built right into commissions. So this allows us to not only enter questions, but streamline that process. And the workflow can be configured by the inquiry type. And you'll notice here I have a queue of different inquiries. I can see those at any point. I can also track them, who they're assigned to at any given time. If I wanted to open up maybe a general inquiry, I could actually click on my new dispute button and select the appropriate inquiry form. So it makes it very easy for customers and payees to come in and enter different workflow inquiries and disputes. Additionally, just coming back to the dashboard for one moment, one element that I didn't talk about, but I'd like to mention it, is that we can rank on virtually any metric or measurement or incentive. And then there is some configuration that is enabled behind this. So if you'd like to anonymize the leaderboards or remove the actual metric, you can do that as well. What a lot of customers like is gamification of the sales metrics. So we can even create dedicated dashboards all to just leaderboards based on different measurements or different types of metrics that exist. And we can look at that over the course of any period that we'd like. I'm going to move on a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit about reporting, and then we'll talk about comp plan distribution. So those are both included in the solution. We have a library of standard reports that are available both to our end users, our managers, and our comp admins. You'll notice here that I have a library, and these can actually be controlled from a permission perspective. So an end user like David Litz, who we're logged in as, may not see all of these, but one that we generally see is a compensation statement. And these come right out of the box, and you can configure them through the admin portal. You'll notice that we can have a library of them. So as we process different periods, as the end user, I could come in and actually look at any given comp statement or other report that I have access to right through the portal. And from here, I can easily look at it from HTML, PDF, or even pop that out and download it if I wanted to make maybe a hard copy or a print. So these are very nice. They're included. There is some light configuration that's available for all of the reports, and that's available to our users. Additionally, we also have our documents and approvals area. One of the challenges that many of our customers face is comp plan distribution. It's traditionally been kind of a cumbersome process. What this workspace allows us to do is templatize our comp plans using a technology very similar to mail merge, and it's completely audit trail enabled. So we templatize the comp plan. We can distribute it to all of our payees as well as managers or other users. They can view it in here, so they'll see information that's pertinent to them, like quota targets, rates, base salary information. You can add things like logos to it as well to personalize it. And this can be downloaded very easily. And we can also accept right from inside the solution, or if the user has a question about it, they can simply send an inquiry right through the solution as well. So complete workflow is behind this, very similar to the inquiry forms. The manager experience is fundamentally the same. If I jump over to our manager, Michael Ruocco, you'll see that similar dashboard experience. However, we can actually see many team metrics. So we can look at attainment, team performance. These are also drillable, just like the end user perspective. But I can also see ranking. So we have dedicated widgets that are available for managers or any kind of executive leadership. And that way we can see how each team member is performing and even look at trending data over time. Now, it's common that we, as a manager, may want to drill into maybe a subordinate dashboard. So if I scroll down here to the left, you'll notice we have this team view. And from here, I can actually drill into any one of my team members' dashboards. And that way, if we are having a one-on-one or other discussion, and we both are looking at the same data right from inside the same solution. Manager dashboards are able to be configured just like the end user dashboards. So not only ranking, but roll-ups or aggregated measurements as well as incentives. So, and we can roll up even further than managers if we'd like to roll up to maybe the director or VP level, we can do that as well. All the same functionality would exist. So that's going to conclude the end user perspective as well as the manager. What I'm going to do is we're going to jump over to the compensation admin experience. And I'm just going to step you through that and show you how do we streamline and manage not only plans, but all the data and the querying of that data that's in the system. What you're looking at right now is what we call the admin console, and these 4 areas are called action cards. So the solution is designed to allow us to get to any part within the commissions tool without having to click more than twice. So we can, from right here, we can manage our organization, our compensation plans, our calculation process, or the administrative setup. And each one of these action cards has a drop-down menu that allows us to drill even further into some of the more specific workspaces inside of the tool. And I'll take you through these here right now. So we're going to start with the organization. Now, what makes Calidus Cloud very strong is not only can we manage compensation payments and organization, but we also have what's called built-in credit management, meaning that we can credit virtually any number of payees or parties on any given event or transaction. So what we're looking at in this case is a position summary, and it's not uncommon for credits to roll upline. So we'll say maybe an account executive has booked a certain deal, that credit will generally roll up to the manager or the VP, and maybe to other positions. And this is where Calidus Cloud is very strong, because not only can we roll upline, we can actually roll credits to any other position right through our relationship workspace. So it really allows for dedicated credit management to be executed from within the application. Now, a couple of things just to note while we're at this home page here, you're going to see this default period right here. Calidus Cloud is a pervasively effective dated system, meaning that virtually all components are effective dated, and this really does give a lot of flexibility to managing different versions of any given object. We have complete version control, so everything can be managed from inside the application. So if I have different versions of any object from a position, plan, component, even down to the single cell of any table, that's all able to be managed inside the application. It's all completely audit trail enabled. So every change that we make, we have a green system here of an inline audit trail that's included. And this all ships with the solution very, very easily. Additionally, from an integration perspective, we can upload data through our Excel data upload wizards, which exist throughout the system. We also have other integration capabilities using our Connect Enterprise tool and our on-demand integrator. So we can encompass many use cases around integration. Now, this is what we're looking at here is kind of our summary of our organization. I can come down to our detail view, and you'll notice that I can see all the attributes that are included for this object. So in this case, we have the position name, who the payee is, and other pieces of information like target comp, et cetera, the effective dates. This can all be configured on an admin by admin basis. It's HTML5 enabled, so if I want to change fields around or add different attributes, it's simply drag and drop. So it's all business user enabled. It's very easy to use, and the UI is very, very manageable. From a compensation plan perspective, we use a very specific business process at Callidus Cloud. We call it the four-step approach. It includes different sets of rules. I think of it like swim lanes of data. So we have our credit rules, our measurement rules, our incentive rules, and our deposits. Each one of these rules allows us to set up certain conditions on top of it of when that rule will fire. And this allows for some really great flexibility with commissions. So when we talk about our credit rules, we're really just determining, okay, well, the credit rule defines who gets credit for any given event. Our measurements will simply aggregate those credits. Our incentives will pay the payee, and the deposit will generate the actual payment that will send to our payroll. And what I'd like to show you here is if I really choose just about any rule itself, and I'm going to drop into our edit mode, you're going to see it's a very nice wizard-based approach. So this allows for both our new users and our power users combined to easily manage the solution. You just really need to be able to step through each of the wizard-based screens and answer certain conditions and questions to manage this tool. So generating a plan is very, very easy. We actually get these plans deployed rather quickly because it's all just a guided approach. And that's a credit rule. If I were to take you into an incentive, very similar approach. What you'll see are specific questions here or fields that we'll select. What type of incentive rule are we creating? And then, of course, what would that incentive amount be? And we have built-in rate tables, lookup tables, different formulas and other components that can all be used to make these compensation plans very effective. Now, what's a little bit different from Callidus is that each one of these rules will also fire an output that can be queried individually. So we can query on things just like credits or measurements or incentives. So we're really not a black box in that regard. For example, if I wanted to look at a payment that maybe somebody received, like, and we'll come back to David Litz here for just a moment. You can see David Litz, he had a payment here of $65.96.93, but maybe we have a question about, well, what is that payment comprised of? You'll notice there's a button right here. We call it the Research View button, and if I click on it, this actually gives us an end-to-end look at the entire history of how this payment was generated. So if I scroll over to the left, you can see the payment. We can back up to the individual deposits. So we actually have a new business deposit and a renewals deposit. Back to our incentives, back to our measurements that were calculated, to the original credits, all the way to our source transaction data. So this really gives our admin users a very, very easy view of what makes up different payments.
Well, that took 5 seconds, Gary.
It does. It's 5 seconds. It's a very, very easy query. And then, of course, you can query other elements and save those as well. So it's really a nice feature. It's very consumerized for our admin users, and we get a lot of good feedback about it. Additionally, from a processing standpoint, Callidus has one of the fastest pipeline processing engines in the market. And when I use the term pipeline, that's really kind of Callidus Cloud jargon for processing payments. And it is a batch process. It can be scheduled or run on demand. It can be run as often as you like. The system features complete parallel processing, meaning that even when you're running the process, users have no idea. There's not any degradation of performance. They can be in using the tool and having complete visibility of the dashboards. So just to give you a sample of what that process looks like, you'll see it's set up in stages, and it's another wizard-based approach. So it's easy for admins to use. We can determine, do we want to run for one period or run for multiple periods? And then there's different phases that we can select. So essentially what we're doing here is we're going to run a phase, but this is like a trial balance. So this allows admin users to run trial balances without posting payments and without finalizing your period as often as you'd like, and then you can review or spot check all of that data. So you can see from right here, we have our pay stage. There's different sub-stages to it. And then we have our post stage and our final stage right for here. And obviously, of course, if we need to back the process up, there's a complete reset capability. So easy to run. We can run in a full mode process for all positions or down to a single position, or we can even run in more of an incremental mode if we wanted to run as well. So just maybe data that has changed if you'd like to do that. And then you'll notice we can run it or schedule as well. So that's a high-level overview of the pipeline process. So I've stepped you through a lot of information in the Calidus Cloud solution. Please feel free to ask any questions. I know the forum is opened up. If you have any, I'm happy to answer them. What I'm going to do at this time is, Nancy, I'm going to pass it back to you. And thank you very much.